Turning now to Donald Trump and his current justification of the war. He's all over the place. It's a war. It's an excursion. It's both. As he said, it's going to both beginning and is also ending very, no, he said it's just beginning. It's also ending very soon. We showed you that one.
And we won.
This one, and we won. And even though we haven't won, we can continue to win. So here it is.
You just said it is a little excursion, and you said it is a war. So which one is it?
Well, it's both. It's both. It's an excursion that will keep us out of a war, and the war is going to be. I mean, for them it's a war. For us, it's turned out to be easier than we thought.
So, yeah, it's an excursion. It's a war. It turned out to actually be an easier war excursion than we thought. However, what we can also see is that things are not going well. Already you here have Trump effectively threatening the use of nuclear weapons, reminding them of our nuclear superiority, very Fire and Fury-esque. Take a listen to this from the White House lawn.
They've lost their Navy, they've lost their Air Force. They have no anti-aircraft apparatus at all. They have no radar. Their leaders are gone, and we could do a lot worse to one another. We're leaving certain things that if we take them out, or we could take them out by this afternoon, in fact, within an hour, they literally would never be able to build that country back.
We could take them out within an hour. I mean, look, as we continue to see, Trump gave away all of his negotiating leverage. Why? Because he keeps being like, if you do this, I'm gonna bomb you. And Tehran is like, well, you are bombing us. You have threatened and killed. You've killed our Ayatollah. You killed a vast majority of our upper echelon. You have literally made acid rain fall on the streets of Tehran. You have killed border guards. You've tried to foment civil war. You've demanded unconditional surrender. What more can you do to us? And the answer is only two things: more U.S. ground troops, thousands of U.S. ground troops, perhaps to, take over the Straits of Hormuz, or drop a nuclear bomb. Would it be us? Would it be Israel? Could be either. We talked about Brandon with that, but the strategic logic of it, I mean, I don't know what your percentage at. I'm at like 5% now. I was at 3%.
For a nuke?
Now I'm at 5%. And I'm actually at 20% for an atmospheric test, because we're going to talk about this with oil. The longer this shit goes on, if we start to get to oil at $200 a barrel, the energy secretary this morning said, $200 a barrel, we need to stop talking about this. Let me put it in gas prices. That's $8 a gallon. So $8 a gallon at the pump. People are going to riot, or they should, at $8 a gallon. I certainly will. And I have an electric car. I'll be mad on everybody's behalf. At $8 a gallon, think about this. The immense pressure to wrap things up. They're too prideful and too hubristic and too far in to say, okay, we're done. And so what's the other option? You got to invade, or you got to bomb them. Yeah. That's the only other thing that's left in our arsenal. And I mean, look, at this point, they're so afraid of ground casualties that you could see like an atmospheric nuclear test that would happen as a signal for unconditional surrender, which is, I mean, unfathomable, like literally in the modern nuclear age. That alone would be one of the most shocking events of the century to actually happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, I think we would have ground troops before we would have even an atmospheric test.
Really? I don't know.
I think we would have ground troops first. I think that would be the next, because there is such, even for this war, there is such a taboo around nuclear weapons. Oh. I think you would go ground troops first. Obviously, they've been, briefing Congress that is a very real, if not likely, possibility. Mm-hmm. Reporters have been able to, get their hands on plans of some sort of, really extraordinarily dangerous, risky to the point of foolhardy operation to go in and secure the loose nuclear material. I think that's probably the next step. But, then if that goes sideways, where do we go next? And that is very likely to go sideways. In terms of the ground invasion, I mean, that I'm at very high likelihood. Because if you think about it, we're going to talk later on in the show, but Iran is now close the Strait of Hormuz effectively, except for they're able to export they're actually exporting more oil to China than they were before. So they're doing what they want to do. They're blowing up oil tankers. The Navy is saying, we can't escort you. It's too dangerous. We can't do it. They've mined the strait. Now the U.S. has confirmed that has in fact happened. So they're doing what they want to do with the Strait of Hormuz. The Houthis may join the action and also close down, that area as well, which in the Red Sea, which would, is one of the ways they've been rerouting oil to lessen the blow to the oil market. So they're destroying the capacity of the global oil market. So that's one thing. They've also now threatened the regional banking system in Dubai because Israel attacked one of their banks that is linked to the IRGC. And so they said, okay, game on. Then be on notice that HSBC, Citi, all of these local branches, and anyone within a 1 kilometer blast radius of those branches, you are now at risk. You are now a target. So they're bombing the oil. They're bombing the banking. They've also put on notice the tech companies who are complicit in the U.S.'s and Israel's entire war machine, and who are also, have made deals with these local monarchies, et cetera, and building out their data centers. They've also put them on notice, like, you are also a target, by the way. There is no way that the U.S. is just going to allow them, that the Trump regime is just going to allow them to mess with the oil, mess with the banks, mess with the data centers, and not escalate to the next level. So that's why I feel very, sickeningly certain that we are likely to see some sort of a ground invasion. And where things go from there, no one can say. But back to Trump's comments here about, oh, we won and, we took them out and it's gone so much better than expected, blah, blah, blah. Our own intel community is saying that Iran's leadership remains stable despite the strikes. I just saw the new supreme leader, the son who's, mom, dad, wife, kid, other relatives were all murdered by us in Israel, that he's about to put out his first statement. There were some rumors. I think the Iranians did confirm he was injured in that attack as well. There were some rumors that maybe he was gravely injured or on the verge of death, et cetera. So anyway, they're putting out a message. You can see that the IRGC has continued to operate. They had made contingency plans in the event that the top leadership was taken out. And obviously, they've continued to be able to execute on that. So even our own intel community says there's no sign of collapse here. There's no sign this thing is, wobbling and on the verge of collapse. And you can tell by Trump's rhetoric himself, because when he first announced the war in his baseball cap without a tie, he said it's time for the Iranian people to rise up. I think he really believed that, they'd taken out the Ayatollah and now there was going to be this organic movement on the ground to overthrow the regime. Obviously, none of that has manifested, and now they don't even talk about it anymore.
Yeah. No, actually, one of the most revealing comments that I have seen so far is from Mark Dubowitz. If you don't know who Mark Dubowitz is, he is, I would say, the preeminent, regime change for Iran lobbyist called the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, which is like a cutout front, really, for a large part of this pro-war lobby. I don't even think he would really disagree with that, to be honest. I think he would say it is honorable. He absolutely, for years, has been, beating the drums for war with Iran. He very recently put out a statement where he's like, okay, it will be a victory. He put out a tweet where he said, it would be a victory if we leave the regime somewhat intact and we follow up the job later, as long as we reduce their defense capability. So they know that the war is not going well. 3 days ago, they weren't saying that. They were demanding regime change. Even the Israelis are still demanding regime change. And Trump is trying to spin everything as good. But this is the thing about bullshit, is bullshit collides with reality. You can BS your way out of a whole lot of stuff. And while the stakes were high for tariffs, and the stakes were high for a lot of this stuff, in war, it very quickly gets revealed. So, for example, let's go ahead and put A12 on the screen. Trump tells Axios there's practically nothing left to target in Iran. They're like, oh, all their munitions are gone. They have no capabilities. The very same day that he says this, 10 different countries are then either struck by a drone or involved in the war. A U.S.-flagged tanker, which we'll talk and show you pictures of in a little bit, gets struck in the middle of the Persian Gulf. Oman storage facilities are literally on fire. 3 different ships in the Straits of Hormuz get attacked. You have drone and missile attacks all over the entire Middle East, and you have a coordinated effort with Hezbollah, which again you will all get an update on, which 100 rockets that fire into northern Israel. By the way, only 50%, according to at least some initial reports on the ground, only 50% were even intercepted, just to show you how low that they're running, right? And so this is a global catastrophe already. And finally, just had to show everybody this, A14, The only regime change that we currently seem to be on track for is potentially in Bahrain. From Dropsite News, Bahrain is bringing in foreign riot police the first time since 2011 to deploy foreign forces to contain their domestic unrest. Demonstrations have erupted against the monarchy and their role as a base for U.S. military operations, including the Navy's Fifth Fleet headquarters. So that's great. Multi-billion-dollar facility, tens of thousands of sailors, so many people. If you ever served in the U.S. Navy, you've probably transited at some point through Bahrain. Now, oh great, now we have a full-blown Arab Spring-style situation requiring riot police and potentially a massive crackdown in that country. Remember, Crystal, some of the videos that came out of Bahrain where their own population was cheering whenever their country is being struck. Remember, 50% of their population or so is Shia and has long been oppressed by the monarchy there. So this is really bad. And then the final thing I do want to show everyone is A13, where Trump says Iran war is nearly won, but Israel has other ideas. And shocking, lo and behold, down in the bottom, they say that actually Israel is still fully on track for regime change, that the different priorities show that they're very willing and want to strike at the heart of the Iranian leadership, at the heart of their civil society. There's reports just last night of drones, Israeli drones that are hovering around, shooting precisely at the police forces, trying to collapse any enforcement in the streets. They're doing everything they possibly can to incite an uprising and a civil war, which of course is leading to massive nationalism in the country. So everything is unstable. The global, I'm shocked that oil is currently where it's at. I have no idea what some of these people are thinking. I'm amazed that our own economy hasn't tanked, honestly. Like with fertilizer, oil, the global inputs, helium, that's another thing. Qatar this morning said that they're going to shut down their production with helium. It's 1/3 of the global helium supply. For those who don't know, helium is absolutely critical to the supply of semiconductors and specifically chips, both in the United States and South Korea and in Taiwan. So we may have a global chip shortage as a result already of some of the helium shortages that we're already seeing. Food prices are going to skyrocket. When we talked all about this with the war in Ukraine, diesel is currently on track for $5 a gallon. So it's bad. It's really bad. And any talk of we've won or any of that, you literally cannot say the words we've won and or some sort of mission accomplished on the very same day that a U.S. flagged ship gets struck in the middle of the Persian Gulf. You can't say it. It's on fire, supposedly under protection of the United States of America. Shocking.
Yeah. And yes, sure, we're bombing the hell out of Iran. We're bombing the hell out of Tehran. Are we accomplishing?
Right.
We don't even know what our objectives are. Like, let's even start with that. You know, originally it was a regime change. Now they've walked away from that. Now it's, you know, then it was the nuclear material that walked away from that. Now it's like, we're going to blow up their navy. And, well, they seem to still be able to, you know, do some stuff on the seas. So I'm not sure what's going on there. We don't even know what we're there for. So, and we are certainly not accomplishing any of the objectives that have been set out. All Iran has to do is survive, and they win. That is all they have to do. And right now, what our own intelligence community is saying is that they are winning. That is the translation there. They say the regime is stable. So your goal of destroying them, of creating chaos, civil war, regime change, whatever the goals were, those goals are not being accomplished. And in fact, Financial Times had another report about Iranian nationalism. Surprise, surprise, yes, that people are rallying around the flag, even people who are critics of this regime, and there are many critics of, and for good reason, of this current Iranian regime. But are they? Do they support having their little girls murdered at school and acid rain down on them, and Tehran being carpet bombed, and cultural sites, heritage sites being destroyed, and Trump saying, "Oh, the map's probably not going to look the same after this"? No, of course they don't support that. So that's where we are. And anyone who wants to deny that reality is just living in a fantasy land. Because like Sagar said, especially in wartime, Trump can bullshit a whole lot of things and convince people of a whole lot of lies. But when it comes to war, reality is going to smack you in the face. And that is what is happening right now.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.